G'day, battlers, and today we're jumping in for one of the last ever Silph Arena tournament recaps in the world, because it is going to be the last month ever of the Silph Arena. Now, next month we do have the Continental Championships and the World Championships, but this is the last ever monthly meta in the Innocent Cup, and so today we're going to be taking a look at Leanbernal10's 5-0 sweep through the Innocent Cup. It was actually the one that was hosted on my Discord. We just streamed it on Twitch. It was a couple hours ago when I'm recording this, and I'm sure I'll upload this pretty quick, smart. So it's probably within like the last 12 hours of when this video is uploaded. So it is the last one that we're hosting on the Discord. But obviously grassroots PvP, there's something sort of being hooked up in the background for future tournaments. So if you are interested, like, join the Discord down below. Also join the Project Zygarde Discord, because that seems to be where a lot of the discussion is happening for what is going forward. But regardless of what happens, I'm sure there'll be more tournaments being hosted on the Discord server for sure. So, stay tuned for that if you're interested. But if you just want to come in for that Innocent Cup knowledge, then video begin. There'll be progress stamps in the progress bar down below. If you want to skip straight to the battles, you don't want to bother hearing me talk about the teams and stuff, you can go straight there. But Leanbernal10 coming in with the 5-0 with a really interesting method to how they built their team, being that they saw my tweet that was like, hey, about tournament about to start in an hour, I think was the tweet, but they did not see it at the start. They saw it very much late game, and so they had about 2 minutes to get a team together. So they sort of were like, okay, I know from seeing an image at some point that Azumarill, Alolan Raichu, Seeking, Emolga, all going to be good, very commonly used picks in this meta, post sort of the move update. And then they just needed to think about what sort of rounds that out. So they were like, Whiscash really covers the Alolan Raichu weakness that is a little bit present in this team. And then they just wanted to try out the Fairy Wind Clefable as well, which my understanding is that it's really good. I didn't face it against any of my opponents, and I didn't use it. So I'm sort of excited to see Leanbernal sort of show me how it sort of goes in this meta. There's obviously a lot of Fairy type in this meta because Fairy is largely unresisted. So I am very much looking forward to seeing that Clefable in action. But of course, also Leanbernal, a very accomplished battler outside of the Silph Arena as well. I mean, good in factions, but also Go Battle League leaderboard. Really, really just a very strong trainer. And apparently not the first time that they've done this sort of thing where it's a very last minute team put together and they spend more time finding their Pokemon CPs to register than actually building their team. But with all of that said, I think we're sort of good to go. So let's take a look at round one opponent, D-Shriver94, who we can see the team's over on the right hand side there is running the Alolan Raichu, the Jellicent, Clefable, Tropius, Quagsire, and Zweilous. Now, something interesting about Leanbernal's team is that there is no dark type damage, and that is something that I was finding was a massive struggle point in my battles against things like Hypno, against things like Defense Deoxys. You just need that dark damage to have a better time against those Pokemon. Leanbernal does not have any of that dark damage. D-Shriver does in the form of that Zweilous. So that might make things slightly more trickier for the Alolan Raichu to sort of come out and play. I mean, in addition to the fact that the Quagsire is there as another Mudboy, Mudboy being another counter to that electric typing. But, I mean, Leanbernal's got a lot of different options here. I mean, it's a little bit of a dynamic meta. If you haven't seen any of the battles play out, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of swaps. I think it's best that we just sort of jump into the battles and stop me rambling, because you'll get a better idea for how the meta goes from the actual battles than from me just talking about battles. So let's go in for the first opponent versus D-Shriver94, and we get Clefable straight away, which is great to see against that Alolan Raichu on the other side, and you can see we have the Azumarill and the Whiscash in the back. So a little bit of an ABB with double water, so a little bit scared if there's a Tropius in the back. Unfortunately, takes a wild charge to the face straight away, and then the swap out into Jellicent. This isn't a great start for Leanbernal, but, evidently has to come back. So gets the attack debuff, which is actually pretty nice, because now this Azumarill is feeling a lot more comfortable. Even if this Jellicent is throwing those big, heavy, neutral Shadow Balls, which actually went for the Surf Bait. Really nice call, by the way. Azumarill can just be a lot more comfy here. So D-Shriver, interestingly, going for two Surfs back-to-back. Maybe they've got Surf Ice Beam. Ice Beam for that sort of Flyer coverage and also Dragon coverage. So just lets the Play Rough go through, takes it out there, and now here comes back the Alolan Raichu. Alolan Raichu is pretty squishy. So an Ice Beam is still going to do a decent chunk of damage to that Alolan Raichu. So the opponent does decide to shield, tries to catch a move into Whiscash. A little bit scary if it's got Grass Knot. And it does have Grass Knot, so correctly shielding up there. And now it sort of wants to get rid of this Alolan Raichu as soon as possible. Maybe trying to make a catch onto that Quagsire, but Leanbernal happy to throw the energy here. Needs to take this Quagsire down, because again, doesn't really have like a hard counter, and Leanbernal's already lost a lot of health in the back. So taking that Mud Bomb on the chin, again, doing a bit more damage as of the start of the Hidden Gems season. Increase from 55 to 60 damage, or power. So now has to make a decision here. Decides to let this one come through. It is just a Mud Bomb, so Whiscash is going to survive. Throw the Mud Bomb here. And then I think this is going to be sort of enough to take the Quagsire out. And now it needs to get another one off, but there's still a shield in play. So this is likely to burn D. Shriver's last shield, and then needs to get another charge move off on one of the other Pokemon, bringing in the Azu here. So shielding up and hoping to get to an Ice Beam. Actually, there's the Wild Charge debuff. Okay, back-to-back Wild Charges. This isn't too bad for Leanbird. I feel like there's a chance here, because now that's going to be super defense debuffed. I mean, the Mud Shots alone are adding up there. Can we get a Fairy Wind through? Yeah, we can. Okay, I'm actually going to pause it there, because that's like, it's kind of wacko. The double Wild Charge defense debuff is the only reason that Leanbernal was able to get the win out there in the end, because otherwise, like, that was a pretty healthy Raichu. But at the same time, like, if you took another damage of another bubble, then you would also probably have still lost, even without the double. So I don't know what the win con was for D. Shriver. I don't know if there was one. I mean, we can say calculated. I calculated was sort of the word of the day of the stream, but I think that Leanbird put themselves in quite a strong position there. She's wacko. But let's go into game 2 here with the Alolan Raichu mirror match, and we don't have the ABB this time. We have the Whiscash and the Clefable in the back. So you can see that we're running Thunder Punch Grass Knot, no Wild Charge on Leanbernal's side. So a little bit safer in the sense that they're not going to get the defense debuff. And again, with Alolan Raichu being pretty squishy, still does a lot of damage. Now they catch this second Thunder Punch onto the Tropius, quite a bulky Pokemon, and to be honest, looking at Leanbernal's team, I don't think they're too upset about having to throw a Thunder Punch at that Tropius to try and weaken it down a little bit. Catching the Leaf Blade onto the Clefable. Clefable really wants to do as much damage to this Tropius as possible. Try and get rid of it before a Whiscash might have to face it later. So going straight up for that Moonblast that charges up nice and quick now that Fairy Wind is being used instead of Charm, but taking a lot of damage from Tropius. So letting another Leaf Blade come through. It's really going to be Raichu's time to sort of finish this thing up. So tries to potentially catch a move there, but the way things work, D. Shriver ends up getting CMP, so Leanbernal forced to shield up. There's the defense debuff as well coming through from the Wild Charge. Yeah, unfortunately that was a CMP loss. And now swapping into Whiscash, maybe hoping to catch a Wild Charge straight, but, you know, this is going to be a Grass Knot, so shielding up the Whiscash, and then going to be able to farm down. And actually, now there's no shields, so Whiscash will be able to throw a Blizzard to take out the Tropius if that's what they bring in, knowing that D. Shriver decides to bring out the Jellicent instead, trying to soak up the Whiscash's damage here. So the Mud Bomb going through. And then probably going to get another. I mean, it depends when D. Shriver wants to switch, because Leanbernal is sitting here like happy. Like, he's happy to have this Whiscash up against the Jellicent, and then the Alolan Raichu able to get some Thunder Punch damage off onto Tropius in the back. So it's going to be a case of whether D. Shriver potentially tries to catch. I mean, you can't really catch when you've got a 3-turn move versus a 2-turn move, because Whiscash is always going to be able to time it perfectly to make sure that you don't, you know, get a sneaky catch through. But now going to take a Surf and then swap out into the Raichu. Unfortunately, the Tropius getting the move off before Raichu gets there. Leaf Blade going to take out Raichu, and now this Whiscash, it's not going to be able to get to a Blizzard. I don't think, yeah. So puts it at 1-1 in the first round, and now going into game 3, actually bringing the Emolga out into the Jellicent. So Emolga, really interesting pick. Another one that's really freshly buffed, being given Acrobatics. We can see the swap out into Quagsire, potentially trying to catch a move here. And Acrobatic is like a massive power move. So even though Quagsire, like, you're sort of like ground type versus flying type, Acrobatic still absolutely chunks it. It is a very scary move in this meta. So Leanbernal, after having that shielded, swaps into the Clefable, and now going to try and put some big damage onto Quagsire still with the big Moonblast. Not enough to KO the Quagsire, and still pretty scary, especially because, again, Mud Bomb being buffed, it's doing a bit more damage. It's really starting to add up quite a bit onto this Clefable. And Clefable not able to get up to another even Meteor Mash before a third Mud Bomb comes through there. So Now has to think about what to bring in. Emolga would be a pretty lost cause. Actually, it looks like she was trying to catch into the Emolga with the flying typing, but didn't go through there. So now just going to keep Mudshot. Not going to be able to get a full farm down, but Whiscash will be able to take another Mud Bomb. Not a lot of health left here. Going to be relying quite a bit on this Emolga in the back. So here's the swap out back into Emolga. Here's the Jellicent. We know it has Silph. Have we not seen the second move? I feel like we haven't. I feel like it has to be the Ice Beam, but we see the Discharge going into the Tropius now. So Emolga, not too bad against either of these two Pokemon. Sort of would prefer to be throwing the Acrobatics onto Tropius than the Discharges, so pretty nice catch from D. Shriver. Gonna take a Leaf Blade, so really nice call there. I mean, look, it can't take another charge move, so really hoping that this Acrobatics goes through, and it does, and now it has to take out the Jellicent as well. This Discharge likely to get that last shield out of D. Shriver, and that Whiscash is also sitting there ready to go, going to have to contribute here. It has so much energy. These Mud Bombs are really going to add up, and this is going to be the power of the Mud Bomb buff. 1, 2 Mud Bombs, another Mud Bomb. It's not going to be a one-hit KO, but it is going to get it really low, and Whiscash is really close to that third Mud Bomb, and that third Mud Bomb will be able to KO the Jellicent. Unfortunately, we see the Surf coming through from the Jellicent before that can happen, so Whiscash going down, and it is now back to Emolga, who gets the fast move down. Really, really close stuff. But again, Leanbernal relying on that body of knowledge, that understanding of how to play the game, and just being able to maneuver through these matchups. So really well played with a 2-1 in round 1. Again, like very freshly built this team as well, like straight away and straight into it. So now we have Kawhi, my factions mate, and really fun player who's usually going a bit more spicy, but ran out of dust in building a Jumpluff for this meta. So this time running the Jumpluff, Quagsire, Whiscash, Jellicent, Alolan Raichu, and Honchkrow. And Leanbernal could not be happier to have Alolan Raichu on their team, because, like, I'm in saying that, I think I was a little bit preemptive. In my head, I was going like, oh, they've got 3 water types. 2 of those water types are Mud Boys. So not so much, and especially, you've still got Grass Knot, so like it's still good. It's just not as good because you're still scared of those Mud Bombs. But still, I don't know, like, I feel like Leanbernal is almost certainly going to bring that Alolan Raichu. Just because, like, you've got some play against Jumpluff, against Whiscash, against Quagsire, against Jellicent, against Honchkrow, and then there's just the Alolan Raichu mirror. So I think that's going to be really powerful. I also think that Whiscash is going to be pretty good as well. You still have to be scared of the Grass Knots from Alolan Raichu on, like, both ways, right? Like, Raichu's got to be scared of Mud Boys. Mud Boys have got to be scared of Grass Knot from Raichu. And there's that sort of counterplay that's definitely in action here. I think it's pretty likely that Kawhi might bring in the Jumpluff, just because Jumpluff is a really bulky Pokemon. And Leanbernal doesn't have much in the way of, like, hard counters for the Jumpluff. Like, even something like Seaking that has access to Poison Jab, Icy Wind, which is really going to add up onto Jumpluff, still takes super effective damage from Energy Ball. So, like, it's sort of what I mean, is it's a very dynamic meta. But let's get into round number 2. And we've got the Emolga into the Jellicent in the lead. So again, not too bad here. And we've actually got another electric type in the back. This team is, like, it's not a... Whiscash isn't a counter to Jellicent, but it doesn't do too bad. So it's a pretty strong team against that Jellicent. Here comes the Quagsire eating an Acrobatics straight away. Really unfortunate for Kawhi. And now even just catching the move into Whiscash. If this is a Stone Edge... Oh, what a catch from Leanbernal. The resisted Stone Edge, wasting a lot of energy from Kawhi. And, like, when Mud Bomb is so cheap, and so, like, you could be stacking up these Mud Bombs with a lot of damage. Oh my gosh, it isn't a Mud Bomb, it's an Earthquake Quagsire. And that is absolutely wild. I'm in love with this Quagsire now. I did not see that coming at all. Man, that's a play. It's a play. Now going the Mud Bomb, throwing it into the Jellicent, getting that first shield. Probably could have left it, but, Jellicent wanting to try and stay a little bit healthy so that this Emolga can't completely wipe the floor with it. Shielding up that Discharge, visual bug there, meaning the shield didn't show up, but was used. And then that Shadow Ball doing huge damage to Emolga, and now it is just Alolan Raichu's time to shine. Coming in with the fast move damage, adding up, shielding up the Shadow Ball. And it's another Mud Boy in the back. This is huge. That's like this is GG's for Kawaii. Like, there is just no coming back from a Grass Knot into a no shield Mud Boy. It was so triple water was the strategy here, which I appreciate. I mean, again, because it's like it's double Mud Boy, so it's not like it's weak to Alolan Raichu, but when there's a lack of shields, it's weak to Alolan Raichu. So game 2, here we have the Whiscash into the Quagsire and running the ABB with Electrics in the back. Now that we know it's Earthquake, this is a bit more threatening for the Whiscash. So shielding up a Stone Edge bait. It's a really nice bait from Kawaii. That Earthquake is playing some serious mind games as well. But now, it does mean that Whiscash sort of, after shielding the Earthquake, has this matchup a little bit more consistent because you are getting to these Mud Bombs really quick, and Quagsire needs to get all the way up to that Earthquake. So there is going to be a potential Earthquake here. So Leanbernal going to burn a second shield to make sure that this Whiscash stays alive. And here comes the Jellicent. So Leanbernal able to swap into one of their 2 electric types, is really going to be putting on a lot of pressure with these discharges to get those shields out of Kawaii. So there's the first shield. Depending on Kawaii's moveset here, did we see that it was Surf Shadow Ball? There's the Shadow Ball, which does a lot. And now Mulga will be able to get to a second discharge. May not be able to get to a third, though. So it's going to be... Yeah, gets the second shield out of Kawaii, but Kawaii now going to be able to Hex all the way down. And decides to bring in the Whiscash. I think Leanbernal probably making a prediction here that it might be the Whiscash in the back, and that Alolan Raichu might really be key. So, going to take probably a Shadow Ball here. Oh, just a Surf? Okay. I mean, I think 2 Surfs is superior to just 1 Shadow Ball. So if you're, it's a question of what you're actually going to get to. But here's the catch into Alolan Raichu. This is better be a Surf, because it's a Shadow Ball. That Alolan Raichu would be Godskis. But now, here it is. It is the Whiscash in the back. And with no shields left on Leanbernal's side, Whiscash looking a lot more scary here. The Mud Bomb coming through will KO. And now it is just this. I mean, there's 3 Pokemon technically on Kawaii's side. So this is looking pretty bad for Leanbernal. Again, just because they didn't have that shield to protect themselves. Like, they tried to swap into that Alolan Raichu as soon as possible, but just sort of, wasn't able to get that energy needed before that Whiscash should come in and just get up to that Mud Bomb. So, close game, but it does mean that we're going into a game 3 here. I mean, Kawaii with the... Oh, no, they didn't have triple water, did they? They had Alolan Raichu in the lead. Right? Or am I getting totally... See, I might be getting confused because, again, like, I've played 5 rounds of this same tournament against some of these same opponents just a few hours ago. I might be getting a bit confused, but we are going to game 3 with the Azumarill into the Jellicent lead, and we're actually running the Whiscash and Mulga in the back. So we've left Alolan Raichu behind. Kawaii, potentially expecting that Kawaii might be up on the strats, it might be ready for that Alolan Raichu. But with Jellicent in the lead, not too bad for Lean. They're going to be able to get these player ups off to do some nice neutral damage. Brings it down to half health, and then 1 more bubble. We'll see if this is a Surf or a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is really going to hurt this Azu, bringing it down into the pretty deep red. So Azumarill is not going to be able to get to another charge move after this one. So Jellicent decides to shield up there, and so Leanbernal swapping out into the Emolga, not wanting to give Kawaii all of that farm. So shields up the Shadow Ball there, and now tries to catch a discharge onto Quagsire, but Leanbernal staying calm and collected, able to keep their cool and go for the acrobatics, which again, chunks that Quagsire, does a really nice bit of damage. And now shielding up the probably Stone Edge, and going to be pushing to, I don't know how much discharge is going to do here to Quagsire, but we're going to find out together, because this might be enough. Okay, actually gets the shield out of Quagsire, and now going to go for another discharge, not even like a threat ever at acrobatics, just going straight for the discharge, and yeah, is going to be enough to take out the Quag, and now it is Whiscash's time to shine. Again, from Kawaii's side, they're probably expecting the Alolan Raichu to be in the back, but it is in fact the Whiscash, so farming up here, going to the acrobatics, again, going to do a fat chunk of damage to this Whiscash. There it goes into the pretty deep yellow. Interesting visual bug here, but there's a Jellicent now, apparently. So we've got the discharge, super effective discharge going into this. Again, Kawaii is expecting there to be that Alolan Raichu in the back, but it's just not there. So this Mud Bomb will take out the Emolga, and here's the surprise. It is actually Whiscash. And now there's nothing that Kawaii can do here. they could have 2 mud bombs, 3 mud bombs, and Leanbernal is still going to take this one out. So one for the Blizzard just to do that big nuky damage, but this mud bomb is going to be enough, and it doesn't mean that Leanbernal is up 2-0 in this tournament, going to round 3 up against Ole Skarin. So let's bring up that next team. Ole bringing in the Jumpluff, Jellicent, Wigglytuff, Gligar, Seeking, and Dedenne. Now, I think the Wigglytuff play is really interesting. I mean, I think when this meta was first announced, a lot of people were a little bit scared of it's going to be Charm, Charm, Charm meta. Wigglytuff, even though it's been buffed by being given Disarming Voice, it's still pretty slow to get to those charge moves, and you're unlikely to get to more than one. This might be a case where we actually see Leanbernal lean in to the Seeking with the ability of getting both the poison jabs onto Wigglytuff and then also getting Icy Wind double super effective damage to Jumpluff and then also Gligar. You've got access to that Drill Run for Dedenne, even though you're a little bit scared of those discharges from Dedenne. So I think Seeking has a lot of play here. And it's a bit scarier to bring the electric types in when Gligar is running around. So, for example, Alolan Raichu, I mean, not only are you facing a ground type, but you've also got the Night Slashes doing super effective pretty quickly to that Alolan Raichu. So, if Lean does decide to bring in an electric type, they're probably going to lean more towards the Emolga. But I feel like it's a little bit scary. So, maybe we see like Seeking, Clefable, maybe Whiscash comes in as well. Who knows, or Leanbernal does, and they do bring the Seeking straight away in the lead, and we actually do have the Emolga in the back alongside the Whiscash. So this is a spot where like Lean doesn't really want to be here because their Seeking is a little bit important for those matchups that are probably in the back. So kind of want to protect this Seeking a little bit. Gonna let this first one go after the opponent did the same, and it is just the straight drill runs, so getting really low here. Looks like Ole packing a slightly better IVs and catching the Icy Wind into Jumpluff is a really interesting catch because now this Jumpluff not only has just lost half of its health, but it's also switch locked, which means it's stuck in with that doing less damage. And now Leanbernal is able to swap into Emolga, which is like already quite bulky, but now taking even less damage because of that Icy Wind debuff. So this isn't a great spot. I'm going to call them Ole. I'm not sure if that's how they say the name, but I'm going to go with Ole. So we're going to be able to take another move pretty easily. And then I'll just farm all the way down here with 100 energy ready to go on this Emolga and going for the discharge onto the Dedenne that's come in. So this won't do a ton of damage. This is probably like, the worst pick for Emolga to be up against just because both moves are resisted. But Acrobatic's still going to do a really big chunk of damage and the opponent making really nice calls, shielding the correct moves. But now we have Dedenne up against a Whiscash. And Whiscash is looking pretty good here, shielding up the higher energy play rough. There is that little bit of sliver of health on the Seeking in the back, who has a charge move as well. So it has to be a little bit wary of that. I mean, Leanbernal could pretty comfortably take a charge move from Dedenne and keep that shield for the Seeking in the back, but looks like no need here in this Seeking. It's not going to be able to do anything. So Ole is just sort of let it go, and Leanbernal going for the finishing mud bomb here. So yeah, that's going to be GG's on game 1. So we're going to game 2, and we have the Whiscash into Jumpluff. Now, this is a matchup that is very bad unless you can land the Blizzard. So going to save that for a potentially later game scenario and swap into the Seeking. Again, you still have to be scared of those energy balls. So getting a shield out of Lean here and then keeping their calm, and we see the Seeking swap in from Ole's side. So again, the drill run going to add up a fair bit of damage. You're kind of wanting to get 2 drill runs plus the poison jab damage to KO. And Leanbernal getting their second one through before Ole gets to 1, which puts so much pressure onto Ole to burn their first shield, so they do. And now actually going to let this drill run come through. And I think at this point, it might be a full farm down, which is a little bit rough, but this Whiscash is going to be able to tank either move, whether it's Icy Wind or drill run, so not too bad. Is just the Icy Wind, so is debuffed, but still takes less damage, which is kind of nice for it. Than they would have from a drill run, I mean. And now this drill run going to add up, bring it down to the red, and now swap out into the Raichu, but here comes Clefable as well. Again, no wild charge on this Alolan Raichu, so it's going to be sort of a bit more straight and narrow, going for the Thunder Punch 2 Thunder Punches is enough to KO. And so along the Raichu, this is going to be its last charge move. So it's a question of whether Olay wants to protect their Wigglytuff or not. And they don't. They see more value in that really bulky Jumpluff and wants to protect it from that potential Blizzard from Whiscash. So going for the bait here. Leanbernal going for the W here. Wants the shield. Does not get the shield. And that pretty much seals the deal. I mean, if Olay shielded there, then yeah. And they just stopped the recording early because, the Blizzard, they wouldn't be able to get the Blizzard through the shield. So a quick swap out into Seeking here, which again, interesting spot in game 3 where Seeking is taking super effective damage from the discharge, but does have those drill runs. And a really, really wacko swap into the Gligar. Going to be taking Gligar into the Jumpluff, sorry. Taking double super effective damage from the Icy Winds. Again though, this is threatening another shield out of Lean with that Energy Ball. I mean, at this point, like, Seeking is really going to be able to throw another Icy Wind here. And I sort of feel like Olay just lets this go. Because, they're at the 2-0 shield advantage now. Interesting bringing in Dedenne. And so we actually see the swap out into Alolan Raichu. These are some really interesting plays. And again, being created by the dynamics in the Innocent Cup. So the player going to come through here, bring it down really low. And in comes they switch into Seeking. It's Olay making so many swaps of Pokemon into Pokemon that takes super effective damage, but like it's sort of working for him a little bit. So now we have the Seeking and the Whiscash in the back. There is still a shield up on Olay's side. Lean has some energy here, so trying to get that last shield out of Olay. Lets it go. Olay is now going to be able to get to a charge move before Lean can, and there are no shields left on Lean's side, so this draw run will KO, and it is now up to the Whiscash. Whiscash needs to land a Mud Bomb onto Seeking to KO, get another Mud Bomb to get the shield out of Olay, is also going to be Icy Wind debuffed here. This is a really tall order to get out of. So the first Mud Bomb going through, probably we're going to see no shield there, and now it is Dedenne's time to shine. Dedenne has to do a lot of work here. One play rough, I don't think is quite enough. So he needs to get a play rough plus a discharge, I think, to K. Oh my god, he's so close. And this Mud Bomb coming through, this is going to get that shield out of the Dedenne. And then the Whiscash getting one more Mud Shot and gets that decisive Mud Bomb to seal the deal. And again, clinching out another tight 2-1. This is some really sweaty battles coming in from Leanbernal. And that's only round 3. So really well played again to Olay. And really interesting plays from Olay. Like, on a surface level, it feels like I think someone that's bad at PvP would sort of look at those plays and go, just straight up, those are bad plays. But Olay does actually have some strategy built into there, sort of using those weak Pokemon to weaken stuff down, get shields out of Leanbernal, because like the 2-0 shield advantage can be absolutely huge in this meta, depending on the Pokemon you've got. Like we saw earlier, where Leanbernal had that shield advantage, or like took both shields from the opponent, and then had an Alolan Raichu into the Whiscash. Like, full health Whiscash, one Grass Knot, and it's gone. So that shield parity can actually be really key. And so, really just nice plays from both opponents. But it does mean that we're going into round 4, the second to last round, where we have some interesting picks here with Diorosaur, the winner of last month's PvP Steve Discord tournament, which video is also on the channel as well, if you want to check that out, see some more really high quality battles. I just know this is going to be a good matchup. So Diorosaur running the Jumpluff, the Florges, yellow flower form. Have to have the brackets in there. And then also the Swalot, the Whiscash, the Azumarill, and the Alolan Raichu. Now, Swalot is big in this meta as an anti-fairy pick. And, probably going to put a little bit of pressure on that Clefable. Because, interestingly, it's a really weird Pokemon because it doesn't have a Poison Fast move. It's running Infestation, and then you're running Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam. 2 moves that give you a lot of really important coverage in this meta. Like, Ice Beam, you're hitting things like Jumpluff, you're hitting things like the Dragons, you're hitting things like Emolga, and then Sludge Bomb, you're hitting all of the fairies, the Dedennes, the Azumarills. So it's a really interesting Pokemon that, and technically Infestation is doing super effective damage to the Psychic types, but Infestation isn't your big damage dealing thing. So it's not really the most important. But really interesting. And I don't really Florges is another charm user. I don't actually know what charge moves it has. There's so many sort of options for charm uses in this meta that you can sort of pick which one matches what typings you'd like and that sort of thing. So I've just put up PvPoke. So Disarming Voice and Psychic is the most likely pairing of moves there, with actually it's got Fairy Wind. So, I mean, it's also got Razor Leaf, actually. So that's a really interesting, like, there's options. So I'm actually kind of excited to see, maybe it isn't even a Fairy, like, maybe it's not a Fairy Winder. Maybe it's Razor Leaf or something absolutely wacky, which would be big against Whiscash, would be big against Azumarill. And also it would be big against Seeking. So I'm kind of hoping it might be Razor Leaf, but we'll jump into the battles and see what we see here. And shout out to PvP Poke also, a legendary. But we have the Whiscash into Jumpluff again, so pretty scary. So we see a quick swap out into Emolga, and then we see a counter swap into the Alolan Raichu. So farms up to the Acrobatics and now throwing the Discharge, trying to pressure that shield out, and we do not get a shield. But again, Alolan Raichu, a little bit squishy, so still takes a fair bit of damage from those discharges. And now, so just going to go straight discharge now. Brings it down into the red. We haven't seen a charge move from that Raichu and tried to tap on the move, but we see the charge move from Raichu come out first. And actually going straight for the Psychic. Maybe they're trying to protect, like just hide their secondary move, but Psychic is a big nuky move to go for when there isn't that much health on the Emolga. Okay, it's Wild Charge. They wanted to protect the defense debuff potentially. But now Whiscash easily going to be able to just farm down. And expecting the Jumpluff, we're seeing a mad swap out into the Seeking. And there is the Jumpluff. So uses the last shield here. And it's going to be a bit of a question as to what is in the back. As to how bad a spot Leanbernal is in here. So going to be able to get an Icy Wind off. Which again, tons of damage to Jumpluff. But, oh, and actually lets it go. Interesting. We're going to see an Energy Ball coming out from the Jumpluff. What have they got in the back? I want to know now. We've got the Energy Ball coming through. Seeking actually pretty tanky, and it is actually going to be the Florges, and it is Fairy Wind. So no Razor Leaf. So not as good as it would be up against this Seeking. But still going to be able to get to probably a Disarming Voice here to take the Seeking out. And then in comes the Whiscash. And Whiscash, I'm really unfamiliar with Florges. Like, it's usually used in Master League a little bit. So I have a feeling that it's got a pretty poor stat product. And a single Mud Bomb might do a fair amount of damage here. I mean, we'll see. Yeah, that's a fair chunk. So a second Mud Bomb will do. But Leanbernal wants to farm up a little bit more energy so that they're able to get to a Blizzard onto that Jumpluff in the back. So farms up, throws the Mud Bomb here, and is now hoping that they can get to that Blizzard to take out the Jumpluff. Oh, actually, it's so low that you just need a Mud Bomb. So yeah, really, really good identification from Leanbernal. Taking out the Jumpluff. Oh, not... Whoa! I'm not sure what happened there, I'll be honest, but win? So we have the Seeking going into the Florges in game 2 here. Okay, sorry, slight cut. There was just some notifications that came through, but we're still in this Seeking versus Florges matchup, and so the Icy Wind coming through onto the Florges to reduce that attack. Not that it's really that key for Florges, because again, it's relying on the charge moves rather than the fast move damage. So shields up the Disarming Voice, and then going to Poison Jab down. At the shield disadvantage here, so in comes the, I'm not sure, the Whiscash, sorry. I was like, which Mud Boy? Yeah, in comes the Whiscash. Icy Wind are going to come through to debuff it a little bit. And that Emolga is still hanging in the back, doesn't want to come into this matchup, so we're definitely going to see sort of battle of the Mud Boys here. Whiscash going to come in at the shield. Oh my god, whoa! Whoa, was that a predictive swap from Diorosaur with a throw off with the Emolga? I'm not... Because, like, now Whiscash in a really nice spot here. I suppose, again, has to be scared of that Grass Knot. But then, okay, they've gone for the Psychic. Oh, right, it's Psychic Wild Charge. They actually don't have Grass Knot. So, can I shield up here? Another Psychic. Going to be able to farm up a little bit more before throwing these Mud Bombs. The Whiscash in the back is still going to take damage from these Mud Bombs. So it still has to be a little bit threatened. But the Emolga only needs one Acrobatics. And it's going to be looking pretty good. So, no shields. Here comes another Mud Bomb, though. This is like, if this Mud Bomb lands, it's basically, I think it's going to be in discharge range from the Emolga. So now, I mean, there was a quick swap there. I think it's good for Leanbernal that Diorosaur is throwing the move here, wasting some of Diorosaur's energy. And now, actually, we'll still need to get to the Acrobatics. I was a little bit too healthy. I had a bit too much faith in that last Mud Bomb. But yeah, Acrobatics going to come through, KO the Whiscash, and that is GG. So really well played there. Was this... Okay, yeah, jumping into it, game 3 here. Really, really nicely played. But we've got Whiscash into Florges, and we have Seeking and Achu in the back. So again, this is sort of playing it a little bit similar I mean, the Seeking has sort of been the big Florges destroyer before, but we've seen Whiscash do it as well. I mean, the Mud Bombs really add up, and there isn't a whole lot that Florges can do. I'm not really sure what Florges' role is. I think Disarming Voice, you're not doing super effective damage too much. Like, it really is just the dragons that aren't too common, it seems. And then that Psychic, presumably Psychic, sort of helps you give that, coverage to the poison types as well, which is helpful. But I feel like other fairies might be a little bit more useful, personally, but I don't know. We'll see. We get that Mud Bomb through. Here comes the Seeking, and unfortunately, he's going to have to eat a Disarming Voice. But again, it doesn't do that much damage. It's quick, but it's not that destructive. So Seeking still running around, or swimming around in midair with over half of its health. Going to go for the Icy Wind instead of going for the Drill Run. Potentially hoping to still get a shield out of that A2, and it does. Plus getting the attack debuff on there. So that could be pretty nice. In the 2-0 shield advantage now on Leanbernal's side. So going to bring in the A2. And here comes... rest in peace, Whiscash, with no shields to go. This is the exact scenario why sort of peeling those shields off can be so key, because now going to be comfortably taking out this Whiscash with the Grass Knot, has some energy for the A2 as well, and still has one shield in tow. So could even, you could do something really funky and go for the catch onto Whiscash, but there's just no need here. Shields up the Psychic. And then this Grass Knot is going to be enough for a GG. So Leanbernal taking out with a 4-0 and will now be going into the finals. I believe Leanbernal was the only player at 4-0 at this point. So it is up to Pachirisu Dadorn to sort of prevent the sweep and bring the win down to everyone at the 4-1 level. Which, technically my score was 3-2, so I would have got the silver. But, from the title, from the description, we know what's going to happen. And I'm not getting a silver. So we've got Pachirisu Dadorn here. Really a high-ranked battler, ace-ranked battler. Incredibly strong. Not their first time sort of running around the tournament circuit, to say the least. And they've got the Jumpluff, the Swampert, Azumarill, Dragonette, Swellow, and Alolan Raichu. And I thought this team was awesome when we first sort of opened up the tournament page and sort of teams. Swellow, I've seen people talk about it as sort of an option in the Innocent Cup. I don't know how I feel about it, and I'm kind of hoping that Pachirisu Dadorn might be able to tell me how to feel about it through their battles. Dragonair is also a sort of, it's wins and losses. I think we might see Clefable come back here, because Leanbernal, as much as I was thinking Clefable might be really good, it hasn't done a whole lot for Leanbernal. It's really been more of those other picks, the Seeking, the Alolan Raichu, the Emolga, the Whiscash, that have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting. The fairies have sort of been staying a little bit out of the way. So, maybe this is their time now that there is actually a dragon in play. Plus, there's no poison on Pachirisu Dadorn's team. So, might actually have a really good time with the fairy types. So, I mean, that's what I'm expecting. I don't know if Swellow can really come out when you're up against Azumarill, who is famously an anti-flyer with the Ice Beam. You've got two electric types. You've got Seeking with Icy Wind as well. And I mean, technically you've got Blizzard from Whiscash as well. So I feel like we might not see Swellow. So this may not be the time that I get convinced how good Swellow is. But, maybe it is. We'll see. And we have the Seeking into Swampert in the lead, which not an awesome lead for the Seeking. So we see a quick swap into the Azumarill. Swampert deciding to stay in here. Sludge Wave is my preferred moveset on the Swampert, but we'll see what Pachirisu is running. They are running that Sludge Wave, so some big, super effective damage onto the Azumarill. And another charge move coming through already, although I think it's just the Hydro Cannon. So going to be able to survive and then throw the Play Rough. Weird visual, just skip there, but regardless, gonna weaken down that Swampert, and now here comes the Dragonair, and just able to get the Ice Beam off. That is going to be huge for Leanbernal, just essentially stealing that one shield purely on the back of IVs. So really, really nicely done there. Pachirisu Dadorn was definitely hoping for the Dragon Breath down to come through beforehand, but that resisted dragon damage just not enough. So the Body Slam coming through. Another Body Slam. Seeking will be able to tank it and then get this Icy Wind off. Going to farm up a little bit more energy first, but the Dragon Breath's adding up, so you can't farm up too much energy on the Seeking. So the Ice Wind will get that last shield, and then we see the swap out into Whiscash, and we see a swap out into Swampert coming in from the back. So this will be enough to KO the Swampert, especially now that Mud Bomb has been buffed. Have I mentioned that Mud Bomb's been buffed? And now we do see the Dragonair come back in because it will be able to get to a body slam. But although this Mud Bomb is going to add up. Like now the Mud Bomb's come through first. It does just survive, so we'll be able to get the body slam off. Actually gets the Dragon Pulse off, which is actually kind of huge. And it's actually the Swellow in the back. I think Swellow going to win this. Okay, we get an Icy Wind off. If this Icy Wind is not enough to KO a Swellow, then Swellow has just won this game. Okay, it does a lot, but Swellow just won. Now, how much credit does Swellow get for that battle? Probably not a whole lot. It hasn't exactly won. Like, I think a lot of Pokemon could have done what Swellow did just there. Essentially just have to tank an Icy Wind. But interesting, and more interesting, is that Pachirisu de Dawn decided to bring it. So maybe there is hope for some more Swellow action. But it does mean that Leanbernal down the first game, so has to win both of these next two for the Dubsky. And so we've got the Azu into the Swampert. We have the Seaking and the Clefable in the back, deciding that the Dragon was scary enough to finally bring that double fairy action. We have AVA with 2 fairies on the squad, tanking another Sludge Wave, and then we see the swap out into a Azumarill. So going to be able to pretty comfortably swap into Seaking here. Like, you are going to be going straight Drill Runs. Drill Run not doing a ton of damage to Azumarill, but Azumarill is doing not a whole lot to you, I say, as that player did a whole lot of damage. So maybe I slept on it. You know, maybe this isn't too bad for that Azu. We'll be able to get to another Drill Run here, but actually going to keep farming up. I don't know if they can get a full Poison Jab down. It's ambitious, but it looks like they got it, and they have a ton of energy now ready to go into the Pokemon in the back. It is going to be the Swampert coming back in, so the Icy Wind going to be adding up here. One more, it won't be enough to KO, but it will weaken it really significantly. Leanbernal has to make a decision, and they decide to keep it around, wanting to get this Icy Wind off. That again, not going to KO, but it will keep it really low, and I think you'll be able to Poison Jab down here. Going to swap into the Clefable, and there's the swap into Dragonair. This is really, really bad for that Dragonair. Body Slams will actually add up. It is neutral damage, and it is still pretty quick. But, you know, that Fairy damage is going to add up as well. This is another spot where Fairy Wind isn't doing a whole lot for you, though. Because, like, Fairy Wind, not doing a ton of damage. It's getting you energy. But that Moonblast is quite an expensive move. So you're only going to get that one off. So the Body Slam going to weaken it down. And then tapping on the Meteor Mash. Maybe hiding that they have the Moonblast for a potential Game 3. Gets the shield anyway. Oh, is this intentional? Is this weakening? Or was that a little bit of lag? I'm not too sure. But the Meteor Mash actually going to come through and KO there. Here comes the Swampert. Going to use the player off here to KO the Swampert. I'm a little confused, I'll be honest. I'm not 100% sure what happened there. Brain, calculate. I'm not sure. But it does mean that we're at 1-1 here. So, going to game 3, we have the Whiscash into the Dragonair, and we have Clefable, and we have the Seaking in the back again. So, I think Whiscash, the player's probably just going straight up to that Blizzard, and then throwing either the bait or the nuke, and Leanbernal going up for the bait, and does get the shield before swapping out into Clefable. Maybe hoping to eat a Dragon Pulse onto Clefable, but, you know, not the end of the world. Can be able to get a Moonblast off onto the Swampert now. And then, again, Fairy Wind, it's not overwhelming. Like, I almost prefer Charm from Clefable, I feel like. Just because it's not doing that much. I get you're sort of getting more of the charge moves off, but you're taking so much damage in the process, and it's still taking a little bit of a while to get there. But the Meteor Mash will be enough to KO the Swampert. And then in comes the Swellow. Okay, now Swellow not going to be able to get a full KO here, and maybe this is showing Clefable's prowess. Getting another Meteor Mash off. That does do a ton of damage to Swellow. I don't understand the Swellow bring in. What is it doing for you? It goes for the Brave. Okay, well that would have nuked things out of existence. But now it's got like no health in the back. It's got like, you know, no energy. It's not going to do that much for you. Taking a Dragon Pulse into the Seaking. This is actually looking like a really close game. The Icy Wind going off onto that Dragonair, getting the last shield. Going to be Dragon Breath down here. And it is now going to be up to that Whiscash. Needs to get a Mud Bomb through. And I don't think a Mud Bomb is going to be enough. You need a little bit more damage than this Mud Bomb. I think we'll be able to tank this, and then we'll be able to mud shot down, and then potentially a mud bomb is all you're going to need to KO the Swallow in the back. But you're so low here. It's going to be really close, but it does get the mud bomb to secure the win, secure the tournament 5-0. Some really crazy close battles, like really well played throughout, are clinching things. And again, like, this is not a team that Leanbernal has done tons and tons of practice with. This is something they sort of scrounged together at the very last minute, and really appreciated, because it's been really a pleasure to watch through these battles. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you've learned something about the Innocent Cup. Maybe you sort of there's a team that's sort of shown up in this video that you might really appreciate. Maybe there's a Pokemon that you have a little bit more respect for in the Innocent Cup. For example, I think Amolga, it's got some pretty good play. I don't think that this video has won me over on Clefable. I think I'd need to see a little bit more Clefable action before I'm on Team Clefable, but it's definitely a very interesting pick. And I hope to see a little bit more Clefable action in the future to maybe swing me over. But with that said, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially that subscribe one. And of course, thanks to Leanbernal10 for sharing this footage through. Again, this is the final live Silph Arena tournament that we sort of hosted on the Discord server. And do join, for the future sort of plans and whatnot. But, I think the next video on this channel is going to be probably a Summer Cup Ultra League Meta Simplified video, potentially, but we'll just wait and see how things play out. But yeah, thank you to my patrons and YouTube members as well. And again, thanks to Leanbernal for sort of sharing these battles with us, because, I mean, without those battles, we don't get that chance to sort of learn from other perspectives and that sort of thing. So yeah, really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.